Good afternoon. Today we're going to talk about Enterprise Sales Acceleration, a B2B professional development program developed and delivered by TMCnet. This is a proven sales revenue acceleration across thousands of B2B sales professionals that reduces the sales cycle, increases competitive edge, reduces staff turmoil and turnover, produces higher margins, provides improved sales leadership, is designed for small, medium, major, channel, and enterprise markets, and addresses UC, collaboration, IT, VAR, MSP, cloud security, IoT, and other technologies and partners. The whole approach to this is really to provide a new means by which companies can move up market to hire more professional, higher margin, and longer retaining customers. The whole focus of this introductory video is to give you a kind of an overview of what's going on in the whole outline of courses and sections, etc., and kind of give you a flavor of what's going on, which you can then take the whole courses or take them by the slice. This is a part of an overall comprehensive professional development program which leads from basically an introductory salesperson throughout the whole process to an executive leadership program, and which can be designed and customized for your organization. We'll go into more details in that in a few minutes. The whole goal of this thing is some of the goals is to providing customer gain retain. I think what we find out there is that from the salesperson perspective, it's you can't sell what you don't know. This course focuses on guiding salespeople to be ready for the SMB, major, large, and other enterprise customers with sessions designed that the professional, if need be, embarrassed here than in front of the customer. That's really key. We want to help build their confidence and help them build their own leadership skills in sales and development. From the customer perspective, a confused mind always says no, and customers don't buy what they don't understand. So I think you have to understand that this is a really kind of a working sales professional development program that kind of gets people started and is really throughout their whole career path. This course is critical to direct strategic sales, vital for upmarket channel partners, and recommended for all new hires before they are exposed to any customer. This really does help the current salespeople fill in the gaps, gain new insights, and as most people know, you can never know enough. So for new hires, this can give sales management leadership as well as HR insight into likely successful enterprise sales, staff, and sales compensation plan techniques. All right, this course is also delivered 1, 2, 3, or 4-day sessions from professionals with the highest scores ever and award-winning evaluations and multi-decades of experience, and a satisfaction guaranteed of a win-win experience. In addition, knowledge is delivered with the goal of high knowledge gain retain customer approach. It's not important that the teachers know, it's important the students know. Sales leadership can also select any sessions or any session by the slice for delivery and kind of packaging depending on for a keynote, sales meeting, or ongoing channel partner training program. Here are all the sessions in the program so far. You can kind of walk through these things and listen, see what appeals to you. We've worked this through for decades of experience, and we know they all work. They may not always be applicable to each individual training session. In some cases, you may need to repeat different sessions or replace them with other sessions on products of your own making, etc. Throughout this whole process, we like to think that there's you kind of go through a scheme of things. That you're learning one thing and you're kind of reinforcing that and reinforcing that and reinforcing that until you get to role play sessions, and I think those are kind of fun. We also have optional certification testing, and we have basically ongoing personal trainer coaching service and an app if you need to. All right, here's an individual class outlines. Session 1, you kind of read much faster than I can talk. In fact, you can read 5 times faster than I can talk. So I'm not going to read all these bullets, and you can kind of read through them. And again, these are kind of packaged for convenience at this point, so you can kind of see the whole nutshell of this course curriculum in one place. And that way you can download the slides if you need to, or you get the slides in a handout. We like to think that customers really want to see more specific solutions out there. They want to really see the ROI, TCO, value proposition that's really that in their terms, not just in business terms from the vendor's perspective. This course really helps people kind of go, oh, really, this is really for my small regional insurance company or my regional broadcaster or my overlook market, my regional funeral director business. Another thing is that they want a dialogue. What we find out there is that customers, and they really want you to listen, not talk. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, because salespeople often ask too many questions and they feel like this is kind of a ongoing conflict or debate situation. They also want to be prepared for, what else is the customer really looking for out there. That's the other thing that's kind of exciting, is that there are opportunities to integrate your products and solutions really in very in-depth ways with customers out there. As you kind of see the landscape, they may be involved in one part of the medical business, but also how does your solution impact other parts of their business? Because if they're building a channel partner program, they're building more value-added resellers who are focusing on different vertical markets that you really need to have more deeper knowledge of. Also, we kind of talk about the different kind of customer opportunities out there, whether it be manufacturing, communications, personnel services, etc. The other thing we kind of focus in on is kind of like understanding the landscape of the customer types that exist out there. I think that's important, because as you get involved with different kind of customers out there, they're going to have consultants who consult them. They're going to have people who advise them on different solutions, etc. That they bring in different kinds of people, to help them make those decisions, because you'll never really know who's involved in all that decision making. I think it's really important that you get a perspective that one person is involved in a different kind of thing, and you will never know all the people involved in sales decision, but you need to be able to sell all of them. And that's the key point here. So make sure that those kind of people you've identified, that person, that they have a legal advisor, they have a financial advisor, they have an IT advisor, a cybersecurity advisor, they have a social media advisor, they have a social influencer. So make sure that you're designing content and your presentation addresses all the people who are involved in that whole process. Because you want to see that where are they going with their business. It's not just what they're trying to solve right now. You may have been called in for that reason, but they may be looking to you for other applications that they want you to develop and help them develop, or use your APIs or your other solutions to build those kind of processes. Session 5 really talks about the proposal quote and guide. We kind of get a little bit in depth in that, because I think the more professional you are, especially in selling to a larger business, the more the opportunity is to sell to that business. You have a greater chance of selling that business, because you're not just selling on price, because at that point in that business, the person making that decision is not buying on price. Yes, they want the savings, but that person is not getting the check to go on their vacation because of 30% savings. And last thing they want to hear is just all about savings. Because again, what they're concerned about is not losing their job by buying your product. So make sure you're prepared. A lot of different ground out there. I think the idea is that you have a project plan, you have a timetable, you have your management background, you have your case studies. I think you give them a flavor for, you really understand the breadth and depth and the scope of your business and their business and how you provide that kind of solution. Session 6 talks about enterprise business issues. What are they really looking for? What we find out there is that people want a single point of contact, spot concept, also want one-stop shopping. The larger the business, the larger the opportunity for one-stop shopping, and they want to buy it all from as few vendors as possible, because they don't want to end up in a finger-pointing situation. So as you plan through these whole processes, you want to take responsibility, and you want to show responsibility for end-to-end communications, end-to-end management, end-to-end everything out there, so that if there is an issue, they know who to call, one throat to choke. Session 7, we talk about enterprise technical issues. Some of this is really relevant for specific kind of vendor situations, so it's more or less customized. What we find is that, enterprises will bring in the technical advisor, the technical consultant. They may have an IT person. It's always surprised to me that some very small businesses have an IT person, because the person who is one of the founders of that business has an IT background. They came to that business with that IT knowledge, and they bring that expertise, or they may have a brother or cousin in that business as well. So you keep that in mind as you kind of build that business, and you help them kind of think through all the different things that are going on out there. Obviously, cloud is a big issue to everybody out there. Now, whether you move everything from the closet to the cloud right now, some of it stays, some of it goes. We've written articles, and we've provided guidance to even IBM in this area. We also wrote one of the first papers on green clouds, because people don't want to just export their old technology onto other old technology. So that kind of has come up in an interesting situation out there. They want to make sure that you really understand all the different network capabilities that are out there, all the different carriers, security, network management, change management, and service level agreements that exist out there. I do think that, this gets very complex very quickly, and during this presentation, we kind of cover it in very quickly. So, but the idea is that when you look at enterprise network management issues, you start to think, oh, okay, there's technical issues and network management issues. There's business issues. And so these kind of come to play as to make sure that you're understanding what's going on in their business. Every day, cybersecurity is now and will always be number one. So make sure that your solution has a kind of, I call it, a comprehensive cyber checkup built into it. Make sure you understand how your network solutions are using over their network has an impact on their network. So make sure you understand what I call a heat map. Make sure that all these technologies, all these applications that you're adding on top of their network kind of fit together, because otherwise what we find out there is there's a lot of performance issues. And I think what happens is that we find that one application drives the behavior of another, and in some cases has seen technical failure out there. Make sure that you can do pilots out there. Test the waters out there. We've seen in many cases even a small regional savings and loan or credit union, do tests, on a long-term basis with cloud contact center before kind of deploying it to the whole business, because they had like 10 offices and they wanted to start with 1 or 2 to make sure it really worked, and they kind of expand very quickly. There was no rush to expand quickly. There was expand not to screw up quickly is the real issue. The next session we have is we have our own cloud, what I call sales process. I think this really kind of reviews, where are we in sales. I think the sales process is very important to people, and make sure you're kind of reinforcing that behavior back, is that, you are really a sales professional. You are, interviewing them, you're understanding, you're evaluating, supporting them, and you're actually teaching the customer, because they're there to also learn about what you have to offer out there. Session 10 is customer phases. Make sure you understand where they are in those phases. Make sure you've got a phase plan for them. How are you responding not just to proposals, but to responding to their issues. The next session we like to think about is the fun part of this thing. We like to think the whole thing is kind of fun. But session 11 is really about role play and case studies. I think these help kind of ground you in, okay, what is the customer really looking for out there? People need to see reality check out there. They're not just thrown in the deep end and go, oh my gosh, you get 12 locations, etc. And this gives the opportunity, again, to be embarrassed here than in front of the customer. And so it builds confidence, because they can ask questions of the sales managers, the other people in there, sales leaders, the instructors, etc., about the questions they may have, and their concerns. Maybe they don't really understand cloud contact centers that well. Who does, right? Maybe they understand the cloud at all. Session 12 is really designed for sales managers, because we find that, again, the sales managers are often come from people who were direct sales people who have been promoted. This is also a good time for the first-time sales manager, team reboot, channel partner sales managers, refresh, update, benchmark, business turnaround, and growth accelerator managers. This is a one-day class. We really like to focus on this as basically sales leadership. I call the listen, learn, lead process. And the idea is to build long-lasting relationships with yourselves, other sales managers in the organization, as well as your sales reps. Understand those dynamics that go on out there. Overcome, I call the higher fire cycle and the sales revenue ramp slope and gaps. You can see from the chart here is that, you get one person, they may get to revenue, they may get to their comp plan, et cetera, and then they get fired for what they quit. Who knows? They're all whatever reason. Then you got to start all over again. So you've got this kind of revenue gap and this constant churn in the organization. What we have found is that increasingly turnover has gone from 100% every year to 100% every 6 months, and we find in some cases it's even shorter than that. The sales reps are not even sticking around to get their commission checks because it's just too hard. They don't understand what's going on. And if you don't understand that process, then it really causes more turnover and turmoil with customers as well. Because again, we want to work upstream and downstream to keep the team aligned with corporate metrics and goals to gain, retain customers, and reduce the sales cycle. I think if you do this well and you do it right, it can be done. All right, optional 13 is certification testing. It's a good benchmark check to what's going on out there. We like to think is that you kind of build this into a scheme where a person starts at one level and they can go to advanced, advisory, executive leadership. There's a real career path for this. Session 14 is what I call a personal trainer, coaching, and apps. We have a newsfeed app that can be built into this whole process. And there's also, whether live feed or instant message feed that we can listen in to what the customer and the sales rep are saying and kind of guide them through the process. Because the goal isn't just to monitor people, it's to help them do better at this. I think this is really important to the whole process. And the following is just one example. This is session 4. This is all the bullets in session 4, but we're going to kind of go through these one at a time because, again, the customers don't want money. They want content. They want value for what they're buying out there. And this is topics for the enterprise sales meeting. I like to think that you really understand today more than ever about a customer because websites can tell you all you might want to know about the customer you're trying to sell to. Especially the larger business, may have a more website focus. They have a social media focus. Understand everything about their business can be found almost immediately on their website. And you can kind of query them up before you go to the meeting. So don't just send emails, call them up, find out what they're doing, check out their social media content. What is going on in their social media feeds out there? Understandably, that the lower, smaller business is more of a sales serve process. And as you move up market, it's more of a sales serve process. So that knowledge and that depth and skill of the sales person increases almost exponentially. As you kind of get through that process, you've got to be prepared for those kind of questions, those complex questions that makes your product not just a nice to have, but a must-have product. Because again, they're making a longer-term decision on your product. I like to also think that, when you get into the sales meeting, we really want to find out what the problems that they're really trying to solve out there. Help educate them. I think there's a real huge opportunity to educate them. I think people think, well, I'll just go to Google and figure it out. Well, Google is not a training tool. It's not even necessarily a good search engine most of the time, but it really helps people get out of the maze if you provide them a glossary of terms, maybe a book, a handbook, or whatever, something from your organization to help them understand not just the products that you have, but how they can use those products in their organization. We built one thing called Pictopedia, and that's basically 400 plus terms on social media. It's one way to introduce yourself to the organization. Also, determine their pain or what they have to gain, because some cases they're coming and they're seeking you for a pain problem, but you may have an opportunity to help them gain. And I think that's really key in there. I also think that, there are other applications. I think that people throw video at the whole thing, but on the other hand, as a friend of mine said a long time ago, if you're boring face-to-face, you'll still be boring via video digital. And another venture capitalist said, yes, and technology only makes you look worse. So keep in mind that throwing technology at a solution without the proper training is only going to make you bad. If it sits in the corner and is not used or misused badly or unused, then, that will come back to you later. Also understand the Machiavellian person in the organization, the person who really doesn't want you to be there at all, who's actually wanting their brother or somebody else to get the business. Understand the politics of the organization. Also, keep in mind that there's other people on the team that need to be trained out there. Make sure that the person you're talking to may be an analyst or maybe the office manager, et cetera, but they're certainly maybe not be the only decision maker out there. Last thing I think is that what I find out there is that listen to objections without responding to each one. This is not a debate. I think what I find in salespeople, they make a common mistake out there that, people ask questions and they feel like they have to respond immediately. Maybe they'll have other questions. Maybe listen to think of it like as legal discovery. Listen, and then, maybe not even respond that day. put it together in a response, because the question may come from someone else. They may want to share that question with someone else. They want to be some sort of guidance, have the documentation for that. Put yourself in all these kind of situations, understand what's going on out there. If they don't have a plan, help them build a plan. These are the kind of common themes out there that you can kind of see out there that aren't really that hard to do, but basically understand how your product and their life cycle fits together. As I mentioned before, maybe they could see your product being integrated into their product out there. You don't have the whole thing that you're involved in this whole process. 5 is really talk about the bills. Of course, people want to know what it's going to cost. I don't think that there's many circumstances where unified communications has actually saved anybody any money at all. But it's had many MasterCard moments where it's priceless, the benefits. And I've got case studies on that I present in these classes. So these are the really kind of key benefits that when you kind of go through organizations to help them understand what's going on. Because, where they're going with their business is maybe new applications. Maybe they're just kind of fact-finding right now. Understand what's going on in their applications. Think of ways that they can impact their business, better with the technologies and tools that you may have. Again, gather that information. People in your organization may have, we're already working on that part. We have a new feature coming out, blah, blah, blah. That's, coming out next year. Let them know that you're already working on these kinds of ideas, and it provides the seeds for new technologies out there. As I mentioned before, keep in mind what business applications they're looking for out there. Keep in mind, how can you help them increase their business? Not just take money from them, give them some insights, maybe make some connections for them. Put yourself with other business decision makers to help them improve their business out there. It'll make your life a lot better out there. All right, here's another thing is that who else involved in the decision? I mentioned that before. Realize all the players. Keep in mind, I want to drive that home because you've got to understand that there are people out there that, are going to, who is the real decision maker? Every customers don't know who they really are or know all of them. And the other thing is that certain decision makers may have certainly a trump card they can play that, knocks anybody else out of the table. All right, timetables. I think this is good to understand. Where we're going to move today, next week, build a new building, waiting mergers and acquisition, you buying somebody else, etc. Make sure that you start to drill into the details. Make sure you've got a timetable. Make sure you've got a project plan. Make sure that you got your checklist all put together. I know we're going through this really fast, but in normal class, we're going to kind of go through these things. Create checklists for yourself, customer, contractors. Can the schedule be met? Is it realistic? What are the slippages that are coming out there? Somebody forgot the bricks to bring in the concrete. Oh, well, we got the concrete, but no bricks. All right? Realize that communication will always fail except by chance. And that's ha, but it's really true. Because if it wasn't written, it wasn't said, and people forget to write these things down. And when it wasn't written, then it doesn't get done. So, is there anything else I forgot to ask? Those are the questions to ask, Give an open opportunity. Understand what's going on in your business. And understand, give them a chance to ask you more questions, etc. I like to think is that, you don't know where the customers are going. Are they building a new application for their own business? How can you be ready for their business? And one final thought in session 4, remember the customer may not always be right, but they will always be the customer. So that's the end of session 4. We've given you a highlight from all the other sessions. They're available in this video. They're available as a handout. This is part of a digital, comprehensive program brought to you by TMCnet. And we also have other courses like Professional Digital Meeting Technology Certification, which really helps people really get better at that. We have other concepts, other courses on crisis communications, accelerating customer assessments. If you're involved in AI at all, you know that there's more than half of them have failed and will continue to fail until people start doing business valuations up front as to what the expectations are. What we find out there is people just hire coders, and then they go off and code stuff, and it doesn't work. And then they wonder what happened, right? The other one is kind of fun. It's based on a book we wrote on artificial intelligence, but it's also an executive seminar on building a competitive intelligence agency. And that's kind of fun to talk about, make sure that you're really understanding all your competitive insights on business sabotage and espionage. And with that, that's the end of the program today. I thank you for being with us, and I wish you great success in your business opportunity, and we look forward to helping you. Have a great day.